Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you all. Again, Kelsey Beckmeyer, she, her pronouns, Program Performance Manager with KCRHA, here to kind of present to all of you work that the NOFO Planning Work Group has been doing around rating and key indicators for the 2024 Notice of Funding Opportunity to renew our HUD COC dollars. This is previously an annual competition where across the entire United States and the colonies of the United States as well, we have to renew COC funding on a competitive basis. To do this, we have to rate all of the programs that are currently receiving COC funding to determine how they are performing. The last 3-4 cycles, we have been using the same rating metrics, and we are proposing this year to make a few adjustments to non-HMIS data. So I'm going to do two things today. One, I have a presentation that will just kind of highlight the changes. And two, I want to also walk through the actual rating and key indicators to show where those changes are. So I am going to first share my screen to walk through the PowerPoint. Do I want this one? This one. Okay. And I will, if things will move along for me so I can actually start the presentation. Here we go. All right, so I will be walking through rating updates. So these are proposed changes that I want to share with all of you. Pending your feedback and affirmation, this will then go to the full COC board in July for a vote as well. So kind of the main objective today is to review the proposed updates to the 2024 COC NOFO rating materials. I want to have some time for any questions and answers from you all, and then seeking approval from the System Performance Committee for recommendation of these updated rating materials to go to the full COC board. A little bit of context. So these updates have been made from the NOFO Planning Work Group. This is a work group of the COC that's focused on preparing for the annual COC NOFO competition. This group meets on a weekly basis right now as we prepare for the pending NOFO. The NOFO will likely get published by HUD in early mid-July. And from there, kind of the competition period begins. The work group collectively reviewed all of the rating criteria and collaborated on creating recommended changes to the rating and key indicators. So a little bit about rating and ranking. There are two processes that happen when we are reviewing projects for renewal for the COC. The first is rating, and what we're talking about is rating criteria. So rating is scoring projects based on standard criteria. For example, for rapid rehousing, how many days it takes for someone to move into housing after entering the program or being referred to a rapid rehousing program. That's a metric and a standard criteria that we would rate all COC funded rapid rehousing programs. The rating has particular rules that HUD kind of mandates of what percentage of points have to be related to what type of criteria. 33% of the points have to be related to objective criteria, and 20% of the points have to be related to system performance. So how people are moving through and how we're performing and what our outcomes are for each project. The next piece is ranking. Ranking is when we can prioritize projects based on our local COC priorities. An example of this is that historically we have seen youth programs rate lower, largely because a lot of our youth programs are transitional housing, which is not deemed permanent housing. So there's fewer points that they're allotted, so they usually score a little bit lower. But because a priority is ending youth homelessness, we don't want to put all of our youth programs low on our rank list. So because of the priority to end youth homelessness, we can move them up in the ranking. The priorities we have are our 2023 values and priorities, which was approved by our COC board back in May of this year. Those are on our website as well. So today we are only talking on the rating piece because that's where we have objective criteria and metrics. So this is an overview of the HUD requirements for rating. Two of them I kind of spoke to. We have to have a total amount of points that are available for projects. 33% need to be based on objective criteria, cost effectiveness, timely draws. That means timely pulling money out of our HUD bank account, essentially. The utilization rate of all programs, and match that they're bringing. So COC funds require 25% match of other dollars. So for every COC dollar, a program needs to have 25 cents funded by another funding source. 20% of total points are based on system performance. This includes exit to permanent housing, retention of permanent housing, and return rates to homelessness. The points need to also have specific points for projects that address severe barriers to housing. This might include little or no income. This may include folks who are actively using substances seen as barriers to housing, that projects need to be serving those folks, and we need to have points related to projects who are serving folks that have other barriers into housing, working to serve as many people as possible. We need to use data from a comparable database for projects that are submitted and run by victim service providers. So this is our domestic violence database. And we need to provide points for projects that work to identify housing, work to identify barriers faced by folks of different races, ethnicities, and who are overrepresented in our local homelessness population, so that there are steps taken to eliminate barriers and increase equity and increase access to housing for historically underserved populations. These are all the HUD requirements that our rating and ranking have to have, or our rating has to have, pardon me. We are not changing anything related to HMIS data. So anything related to HMIS data or comparable database data, we are not changing. Those are largely points that are related to system performance criteria, and we are not changing any of those metrics at this moment in time. What we are seeking to change or really enhance is related to the section 5 of our local rating, which is connected to HUD system program component priority measures. So this is kind of the big list of things, and we can go into more detail as well. For program component priority, this is points related to what type of program is being done, or being done, that's the right word. So permanent supportive housing, transitional housing, rapid rehousing. Based on your program type, there's a score connected to it. We are seeking to add additional options that previously were not under the program component priority because of these programs existing locally and not being a part of just the standard HUD rating. So we are seeking to add in points for providing a safe haven model and points for providing a joint component transitional housing rapid rehousing model. Those would be 2 additions. We're next seeking to include another population priority under program population priority. We're seeking to add elders and seniors so that there would be points available if a project is 100% dedicated to serving elders and seniors. This is a local priority population that we have stated and want to include them within the rating as well. We have then updated the criteria and increased the point value for various sections within the rating. We have increased it for Housing First. We've increased it for program termination and low barrier housing, participant engagement and feedback narratives. All of these were 2 points initially, and on either like you did it or you didn't do it. We have selected to increase the points to 5 and change the rating scale, so that there's a little more nuance, and a little bit more weight as well for each of these narrative sections. Additionally, under the same kind of section, we have added points and increased the criteria for the section related to lived and living experience, racial equity, and our LGBTQI Two-Spirit Plus narrative. We've done similar of kind of enhancing the criteria from a two-point scale where it's either you do or you don't, to a 5-point scale that has more nuance on kind of level of engagement and kind of where a project is in terms of incorporating folks with lived and living experience, really addressing racial equity and racial disparities within their programs, and ensuring that they are serving folks who are within the LGBTQI Two-Spirit Plus community. So really wanting to call out some more specifics in there. Additionally, we have added in bonus point areas for all 3 of these categories. So a bonus points for incorporation of those with lived and living experience, bonus points regarding racial equity, and bonus points for serving LGBTQI Two-Spirit Plus communities as well in a more inclusive way. And I'll pull up the actual criteria and we can walk through that as well. The final area that we are doing changes is around project expenditures. We've updated the criteria. Previously, it was 2 points, and you either got the 2 points or you did not, depending on your spending. And we have created some nuance there as well. It's on a 3-point scale, where you can get 3, 2, or 1 points, and we'll walk through that. I will come back to this at the end as well, but kind of the overall ask of you all today, the NOFO Planning Work Group is requesting that the System Performance Committee approve the recommended changes to the fiscal year 24 NOFO rating and key indicators, including edits that are required based on feedback from you all today and or HUD's detailed instructions for the 2024 NOFO. HUD will publish the NOFO again in July, and every year there are some changes or nuance that HUD will announce within their detailed instructions. And we want to be prepared and be nimble enough to respond to those changes within our rating criteria. So that's part of the ask of today, is to vote to approve the recommended changes, allowing for incorporation of edits as needed, either by HUD or from feedback from you all. I'm going to quickly shift slides, but want to open to questions. And as we do questions, I'm going to pull up the key indicator form itself. I have a track changes document that I want to share with you all so you can see where those changes were made. But I'm going to quickly stop sharing my screen. Awesome. So I will share my screen again, but with the key indicators. Here we go. So if folks have questions, I am here and ready for it.
Hey, Kelsey, this is Ruby.
Ruby?
Hi, I just wanted to maybe if you could provide a little bit of clarity about the intention behind giving like bonus points sometimes and why we did that, just to give everyone some context. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Ruby. So I'm going to go down to one of the areas where we added bonus. Pardon my scrolling. Okay, so the intention around adding bonus points was for things that are not necessarily seen as fully common practices in a lot of programs. It's starting to become more normal practice and more everyday practice in a lot of places, but we are not seeing it fully across the board. So these are also kind of new expectations, and we want to put these as bonus points versus kind of codified within a narrative expectation. Whereas, for example, the racial narrative, these questions are like, these are fully expectations that we would expect any program serving someone in 2024 to be doing. Whereas the bonus point, this is related to having a fully implemented policy related to diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. These policies are starting to become more codified in projects, but they are not necessarily full-blown regular policies in every project. So we want to provide bonuses for folks who are kind of ahead of the curve in terms of implementation of policy and practice. The same goes for our living and lived experience. Bonus points are going to those if the board seat for someone who's actively receiving services from an organization is currently filled. We don't often see on boards a seat dedicated for someone who is currently receiving services in that organization. And we want to start seeing that as a best practice. So we are going to provide a bonus points that the organization does have a board seat for someone actively receiving services and that it is filled. We've also made sure to highlight within our lived and living experience to emphasize that, like, you may have a board seat, but we want to see that that board seat is filled. So we've done in the scoring some nuance around how a project would receive full points. Does that fully kind of answer your question, Ruby, and provide that clarity? If you're talking, you are on mute.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to scroll up. So if anyone is screen scrolling has an aversion or needs to look away, please do. I'm going to scroll really quickly. Pardon my not providing a warning beforehand. But I quickly just wanted to walk through the track changes so you can all see what those changes are. So we changed the scoring from 95 points up to 126 points. All of the next sections are all of the HUD or the HMIS criteria that we are not changing. So the movement to housing measurements, income progress measurements. Again, I am scrolling, pardon me, I'm gonna scroll. Outreach measurements, HMIS data quality, none of that is changing. I will show here on the HUD system and program component, we've added in Safe Haven, the joint component, transitional housing, rapid rehousing for 10 points. This project is a combination of transitional housing and rapid rehousing. So we've averaged those points, so that's a 10-point model. We also added, I forgot this, we have one YHDP project that is something called support services only. It's a behavioral health component. And YHDP projects are now scored. So we added in this program model type as well, and that would be 6 points. As there's no housing that's connected to this, it's just support services, and is a unique program for young people. We've done full points based on the component type, and then no partial points. We've kind of carried that forward. Next, on the program population priority, we added in points that for if a project is 100% of units serve elders or seniors, added that is a 1 point option. This is up to 3 points. We've carried this forward. I've just reformatted this. 3 points if 100% of units are dedicated or prioritized for those who are chronically homeless. And then 1 point for other population types. And this models prior scoring metrics as well. We just added in, again, the additional program or population type of elders and seniors in alignment with our values and priorities. On the Housing First narrative, we again added this to be 5 points, and we have enhanced the criteria. 5 points would be the agency provides clear description and documentation that identifies a Housing First model in alignment with HUD standards, where 0 points would be the agency provides a description and documentation that does not identify a Housing First model, nor is in alignment with HUD standards. In answering these questions, I've also noted in the application what questions answer. We are asking folks to submit their some of their program documentation as well to kind of compare what is being written and then what the practice is on paper. For program termination and low barrier housing, we also have this on a 5-point scale versus 2 points that it was previously. 5 would be a program provides clear description and documentation that identifies a low barrier service model and supports minimizing program termination in alignment with HUD standards. Whereas 0 points would be the program provides a description and documentation that does not identify low barrier services and or supports to minimize program termination, nor is in alignment with HUD standards. So we ask narrative questions, and then we are also asking for folks to show us the documentation they use, including participant agreements, program rules, those types of documents. So you can see not just what's being written in a narrative, but also what are the documents that the program is using and working with folks to verify that what's being written is happening and being done in the program itself. The next section that we are enhancing the points is the participant engagement and feedback narrative. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can hopefully see it a little bit better. I know it's a lot of documents. So for participant engagement and feedback, we have a 5, which is full points, which would be the program solicits qualitative and quantitative feedback more than once a year and provides clear examples of how they have changed practices and based on feedback and engagement. And 5 would be the program does not, or no points, pardon me. The program does not solicit or incorporate participant feedback. And then in the middle is they might do this, but they don't do it often. So kind of that mid-range. We want to give clear examples to those who will be rating and ranking applications. For lived and living experience, this is really focused on board involvement in an organization. 5 points, the agency has at minimum 1 dedicated board seat for a person actively receiving services from the organization and 1 filled seat for someone with past lived experience. I just want to highlight, we do kind of note a 1, a 3, and a 5 in this one, because we want it to be pretty nuanced in this area. So the 1 example is the agency has 1 dedicated board seat for someone with lived experience. The seat is not filled. So we really wanted to call that out in terms of how the rater will review an application. 0 points will be that the agency does not have a dedicated board seat for someone with lived experience. I spoke about the bonus here, that the seat for someone actively receiving services is currently filled. The racial equity narrative, we also enhanced to a 5-point scale versus 2. A 5 would be the agency names and describes specific actions taken to increase racial equity in the project. And a 0 would be the agency provides no clear statement or action on increasing racial equity in the project. And then we have bonus points for those who have a fully implemented policy on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. For the LGBTQI2 Spirit Plus narrative, We also have increased this to a 5-point scale, a 5 being the agency names specific actions taken to increase LGBTQIA Two-Spirit plus equity in the project. And 0 points, they do not provide any clear statement or action regarding LGBTQI Two-Spirit plus equity in the project. We also have bonus points here regarding intake processes that they would receive 2 bonus points if their project intake paperwork includes space for participants to indicate pronouns. So looking to make sure that projects are kind of actively working to be inclusive of gender identity. The project expenditures, this is the final area that we have updated. We've moved this from being 2 points to being a 3-point scale. People would receive the full 3 points if the underspend on their grant is less than or equal to 10%. So for example, if someone has a $100,000 grant, they have spent $90,000, they would get 3 points. If they have spent 10%, if their underspend is over 10% and less than 25, so they've spent $85,000 out of $100,000, they would get 1 point. And then if they have spent less than 25% of the grant, then they would not get any points under project expenditures. And I'm looking for questions. In the chat. Are there any questions or clarifications that you all have?
Kelsey, this is Daniel. I'm looking in the chat now. If you don't already have that. Looks like we have a comment from Christina. A couple of them. Okay, excellent. Anyone else? Feel free to unmic if you do have any questions. I think I want to say thank you, Kelsey, for giving this presentation, and Ruby and Tamara and everyone that's really worked on this ranking and rating tool. I know many hours and lots of input synthesized into this rating tool, and ultimately thank you for putting this all into a presentation so we can all digest it. We really appreciate you, Kelsey. What I'm going to do next is the next piece on the agenda here is to vote on the NOFO rating and ranking tool. So I put in for every committee member in your chat the link, excuse me, for this vote. Sorry. So if you all could stand by, those of you that are not here, if you could stand by and allow the committee 5 minutes here to pause, look over the documentation, and then we'll be making our vote. Feel free to mute or take a break if you need to, and we're going to adjourn for that 5 minutes. And I'm going to put the link to that in the chat for you, Christina. I think I didn't put that in for you yet, so let me do that. Okay, please take the next couple of minutes. I'll see everyone back at 3:10. If any of you are struggling to get the link, I've just put it here again, and ensure the settings aren't interfering with somebody's email address. That's if they don't have a KCRHA email address for some reason. That might have been stopping you if you were experiencing any problems. Sherry, I don't see a vote from you yet. If you want to let me know if you're having any issues. Oh, there we go. Uh, Christina, I don't see your vote either, or Marvin. Okay, thank you, Marvin. And then Christina, I see in the chat that you'd like to move to approve, so I'm going to put that as a yes. Okay, everybody, thank you for waiting. A couple extra minutes there. I've gone ahead and looked at the votes and tallied them up in our survey form. And it looks like we have a five out of six committee members that are present voting yes, which puts us at a majority vote for yes. So this is Kelsey, this is approved for recommendation to the COC board. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you all. Look forward to continuing on with our NOFO season.
Kelsey, if there's any follow-up questions, people could reach out to you.
Yes, and I will put my email in the chat for everyone.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate that, taking the time to look at that and being here today for that. I'm going to move us to the next part of the agenda here. Just going to pull that up. And the next link I'm putting in the chat for everybody. This is for committee members to approve the new candidates, Ben and Frank. I'm going to paste that here for you all as well. Make sure we don't have any issues with that. Let's copy this link. please let me know. We're just getting all the voting done all at once. Let me know if you're having any trouble using the link. And Marvin and Christina, if you'd like, you could just put your votes for Ben and Frank in a direct message to me if the link isn't working for you for some reason. Okay, I'm sorry why the link isn't working. Apologies there. See if I'm. Mhm. Hmm. Thanks everyone for standing by here. Right, right. Christina, I'm not seeing anything from you. I don't know if the link is working or not. Feel free to unmic if it's not, or if you want to put to me whether you approve Ben and Frank as candidates for SPC members. I don't know if I lost you, Christina. I'm sorry if I did. So maybe just give it. There we go. Oh, good. Okay. Great. Well, I've got the tally in. I've got everyone's vote. It's a overwhelming full majority yes to both Ben and Frank. Um, if either of you are able to unmute or get on camera, I just want to say thank you so much for your interest. This is a real milestone for us in the committee to having two more committee members. I'll follow up after this meeting on some details about congratulations, by the way. I was a yes, thank you. Can't wait to have you on the committee and getting you involved and spinning you up on all the special initiatives that we're working on and getting you into the fold on the work that we're doing in this committee. So happy you're here. I'll follow up with those details after the meeting today.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
And you're both welcome to stay on for the rest of the meeting. We're going to go over in the agenda. I talked with Stephanie. She's not able to present, so I'm going to present on her behalf some of the basic system metrics of the HMIS, the Homeless Management Information System. And I'm going to share my screen so I can share that presentation now. Thanks, everybody. Okay. One second, everybody. Okay, can folks see that? Everyone able to see this presentation here on my screen?
Yes.
Thumbs up? Okay, great. So for Frank and Ben, we typically have our HMIS vendor, the ones who host the software and maintain the application that we do the data collection and reporting in, for the work we do in the community in the region. We at every meeting get an update on the just sort of system level metrics. And as of right now, we have 150 active agencies collecting information on folks who are experiencing homelessness throughout the region. That's a total of 667 active programs, nearly 1,500 active users, and there were 11,000 logins between in the last 30 days. So just giving you a sense of the volume of use for our information system. Really big volume here of people doing this work. The next part of this slide is just Stephanie wanted to go over some focus areas, and I'm going to go into the inventory one a little bit more in depth with Leah, who's on the call from our coordinated entry program. But that is going live in July. This is our inventory management system that's in our HMIS. So information system within our information system, if you will, that's going to be tracking in real time bed inventory for the region. This is a big advancement in the way that we do inventory management currently. So it's a year's worth of work that's happening now, launching in July. We also have our COC-wide annual deduplication. This is where we work with Stephanie, our vendor at BitFocus, in the Clarity system to look for any duplication and if found, merge those clients to improve data accuracy in the HMIS. And the other one, this is just a kind of notice that we're going to be starting our annual security and privacy training and compliance checklist for all users and agencies. This is simply making sure that they're in compliance with the minimum requirements for security and privacy for the HMIS. So this would ordinarily be Stephanie Carrington's presentation. She's just not able to join. So thank you for listening to that and seeing those users. Any questions from anybody on this particular set of information? Ben, Frank, I know you're both new. I'm happy to answer any questions or thoughts.
I'm an active HMIS user, so I am pretty familiar. Thank you.
Right. Anyone else? Looks like I got maybe something in the chat.
So Daniel, do you have a sense for of the 150 active agencies, what percentage of them are putting their data into another system first and then putting them into HMIS again?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I believe probably all of these agencies are doing some form of dual entry for their internal data systems and then also for the HMIS. Now, that's not all. That's a really sweeping generalization, but typically most agencies have an internal one and an HMIS. Then we have agencies that we call data integration agencies. This is where they collect it in their own system. And through the use of an API, we're able to migrate their data from their system into our homeless management information system. And that does reduce that double data entry burden for those agencies. And that is something that we allow agencies to engage in if they want to. Does that answer that?
Well, a follow-on question then, what percent use APIs versus doing dual entry?
Yeah, that's I want to say it's like 5 or 6 agencies. And I don't know the percentage. I will say, I think DESC, you have something like 150 or 1,500 beds in the system. So however many of those individuals were migrating data at any given time. that amount of information. But
Okay.
percent-wise, Frank, let me get back to you on that. Get that from
Yeah,
Steph.
just rough ballpark. Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
that's a good question. Okay, let's see something else in the chat. Oh yeah, Leah, let me make you a panelist. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing and then get us back on the agenda. And then Leah, let me know if you are able to get in.
Hello, I've returned. Thank you.
Great. Leah, do you want to give an introduction to folks who may not be familiar with your work and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Leah Fahori, she, her pronouns. Apologies, I'm going to stay off camera because my laptop camera is not working today. So even if I wanted to, you couldn't see my face. But Leah Fahori, I am the program coordinator on the coordinated entry team. And I've joined, I think, a couple of times, but I'm happy to be here with you all again today.
Great. Leah offered to join today as I give a quick update on the inventory management system that I had mentioned earlier. Thank you, Leah. I'll just give a broad overview. Over the last year, we've had a 3-phase project of getting our HMIS updated so that we can link individuals to programs in the system. So that at any given time, we know how many folks, we've already known this, how many are enrolled, and then which beds and units and buildings they're occupied in, which is a real improvement over not knowing that from day to day. So now we will have that information. We launched July 17th. I think some important things about that is that we have a blackout period from July, Leah, 11th, or is it the 12th?
July 11th through July 16th will be a blackout period.
16th, excuse me, yes. Which essentially means it's going to put a pause on referrals in coordinated entry. The rest of the system is going to be operating as normal with enrollments and things like that continue to happen. So I'm misspeaking there, Leah. This is just for coordinated entry, the blackout for coordinated entry system units. But I'm going to stop there, Leah. I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to give more context and kind of just like big picture things. So as Daniel said, right, in our current system, we have programs set up in HMIS, and clients who are housed or engaging in services are enrolled in those programs. However, what we don't have is a very clear depiction in our system of how many units and beds are available, occupied, and available for as resources for folks experiencing homelessness. And so this shift to live inventory will really add that unit level information for all of the programs within our system, which will help with the hit count and give us like a really like day-to-day picture of how our system is functioning and the utilization of these resources. As Daniel mentioned, so we have done a series of trainings. We've trained all of our contract monitors, funder, and who's the third one? Compliance teams around this inventory shift. We've also done an inventory training for the coordinated entry matchmakers, as well as all of the providers who engage with HMIS, and all of those housing providers have received a training. And that happened this past week. For this next couple of weeks is going to be the time that our housing providers are really going to be going into the new system and kind of verifying that all of the information is set up correctly, that their clients are matched to the right units. And then like Daniel alluded to, there will be a blackout period from July 11th through July 17th. And this time period is when the coordinated entry system is basically going to go into a blackout period. And it allows us to take any pending referrals, so folks who are pending for a resource, and re-refer them into the new system. It'll also give us a chance to see that if we were to turn on the new system, what data cleanup needs to happen before we officially go live, and just kind of give us the chance to ensure that when we do open up the system and go live on the 17th, that we're seeing an accurate representation of where everyone is at and what units are available. And like Daniel mentioned, this will only be an impact for those units that are the coordinated entry system units, and the referral pathways for the coordinated entry system units will be in a blackout period during that time frame. After that point, will be a lot. My prediction would be like the next 3 months will be a lot of just ensuring that we're utilizing this new system in the right ways, and really supporting those housing providers, as this is a large system shift in engaging in this new system. Daniel, anything else you wanted to add related to this?
No, I think that was it. Just wanted to let the committee know that we're wrapping up the last pieces of this, and implementation execution is right on the horizon.
Any
Any-
questions?
Yeah, any questions? Looks like I've got Hick. Let's see. Ben said, I just got a call. Okay, let's see. Hit count, housing inventory count. Oh, I'm not exactly sure what that was, but if I had used some jargon there, yes, the HIC. The HIC is the housing inventory count. This is a yearly count of beds in our system, which for a lot of communities, that's the one time a year that they get to know what their inventory looks like for their community. What we're embarking on here, and I'm going to be completing with this inventory management system, is knowing day by day what our inventory looks like for the region. Yeah, I hope that it's clear. I just want to say, Frank and Ben, it looks like Ben jumped. You are coming in the middle of the movie here, mid-year, with the System Performance Committee. So I know there's a lot to take in with a couple of the topics today. So thank you for still engaging, and we'll get you shortly caught up in the next couple of weeks on what these different work groups have been doing, and make you feel like you really know what's going on. That's really important for me, and I know our co-chairs as well. So with that, that wraps it up for that check-in on that topic. The last thing on the agenda I have is the Wellbeing Blueprint. And I just want to hand it over to Tamara to talk a little bit about that. I think this is an opportunity. We have some time, Tamara, if you want to just kind of talk about it a bit, and then that will kind of take us to close out.
Yeah, I'm happy to. So, just for a little bit of background, Full Frame Initiative is the founder and creator of the Wellbeing Blueprint and the Wellbeing Framework, which consists of 5 different domains of safety, stability, meaningful access to resources, social connectedness, and I always end up spacing on one, but there's 5 of them, and we are trying to develop new local metrics for measuring how well our projects are performing in alignment with the COC's values and priorities, but also with the blueprint principles. So that if you want to learn more about that, I would encourage people to go to the Wellbeing Blueprint website. And it spells out specifically what those principles are and how it provides, for me, it provides like a roadmap for how to create systems change, social change. And so that's kind of the grounding of this work. And hopefully what I hope will eventually lead to larger scale system transformation, community transformation that's rooted and by and for community, and not necessarily by funders or program designers or policymakers, legislators, programs. It should be driven by the community, especially those who are currently or formerly have experienced homelessness. And one of the things that I'm working on right now is, and I'll be sharing this like largely to the public, as far as like community-wide invites. We're developing, through the Lived Experience Coalition, we're developing a mental health and well-being committee that ties perfectly with this committee's desire to create local change. And by pulling together the continuum of care body and the system performance committee members, the larger COC membership. I'm starting small though, like, so the folks that I know on the LEC, the folks I know on the COC and the SPC, the system performance committee meeting, I want to pull us together to kind of develop a stronger, more coordinated response to homelessness and behavioral health crises. And I find it is like a perfect opportunity, especially with the crisis centers coming online in the next couple of years, and how the COC and like previous iterations of the COC have already widely embraced well-being as a core component of ending homelessness, and also just uplifting people's humanity. That tends to get erased as the political process tends to dominate and kind of stifle innovation. So my objective is to build community that is centered around the community's well-being, and by focusing on that and not necessarily just focusing on ending homelessness, but creating like the conditions where people feel comfortable being vulnerable, where people feel comfortable like speaking truth to power in a way that, you know, may make people at the top of a hierarchy feel uncomfortable. And that's okay, because sometimes that means change. Sometimes that means like conflict can be healthy. And I don't think that's widely embraced, but as a principle, but I do encourage folks to like sit in that discomfort when it comes up for folks, because psychological safety is a part of our well-being. And so I want people to be authentic as we do this work together, as we work to like dismantle systems of oppression, and create better public policy that shifts power from systems and institutions to the people who are actually doing the work on the ground, or are directly impacted by policies that people in power don't necessarily have the experience or expertise to make decisions on. So ultimately, I'm trying to find a way to place power back in the hands of folks who are currently or have experienced homelessness through a well-being analysis of our systems, our homeless response system, but also the behavioral health, healthcare generally, all the systems. We are missing a well-being analysis and how to practice self-efficacy. Like I think because the industrialization of homelessness is still so pervasive, I want to see us work ourselves out of jobs. Anybody who knows me will tell you I say this all the time. I do not want to be doing this work in 10 years. And so I want to be intentional in the work to change systems and to like to shift our mindsets from one of like scarcity and you know, their competition to one of where we're sharing resources, we're braiding resources, we're connecting and cultivating collective care. That's the goal that I want to bring with the well-being analysis and tool that I hope to develop for specifically people experiencing or have experienced homelessness, to audit the system that has been designed for them, so that we can then flip the script and redesign it with us as leaders at the top, or like shared power. I'd really like to see like a flatter structure for getting the work done. And so I am hoping if anybody wants to join in this effort to marry the housing and homelessness and behavioral health fields to do some collaborative work, I have a few ideas that I would love to share with you all. If you're interested, hit me up, let me know. And also I wanted to advertise this event that Ruby and I are working on planning, and like I think Ruby has some more like of the logistical details, but I'm hoping like this will be a teach-in, something where people can come together and learn from each other, celebrate through art and education, and build community power. So that is my update. And I'm hoping in the next couple of sessions that we can actually start on developing what those local metrics are. I have some of the guiding questions that Full Frame Initiative shared with us. But I will really want to get, like, I want to dive deep into it and make sure that the momentum doesn't get lost. That's it.
Thank you for that, Tamara. You've really been unwavering in your dedication to pushing this forward. Really appreciate your diligence and discipline in getting this group educated and getting us to an operationalized place with this work. Thank you so much. With that, everybody, that wraps up our committee. I think this is the first time we've been early in quite a few months. I don't know if I've ever seen it actually. And we got through quite a bit. So just quick wrap up. Happy again for Frank and Ben's participation. Thank you so much. Look forward to working with you. And thank you all who voted today on the NOFO and ranking and rating tool. This really moves that work forward so that we can make informed and prioritize our investments in serving those who are experiencing homelessness and getting them into housing. Really appreciate that. And yeah, thank you for that feedback, Christina. I'm not exactly sure webinar on camera stuff, so let me see why that wasn't working for folks. Thank you for that feedback. Thank you all. Happy summer solstice again. Thank you for that reminder, Tamara, and have a great rest of your evening. Appreciate y'all. And that's it for the System Performance Committee. Thank you. Thanks, Sherry. Thanks, Leah. Bye, Kelsey.